situation with universal mail-in votes. And on top of it, the Democrats aren't willing to give the people the money and the post office the money.
Let's go to Washington, D.C. now, and I'm joined by international lawyer Farhad Alavi. Thank you so much for your time. Just take us through why President Trump says Democrats aren't actually willing to give the Postal Service any money.
Well, the president has tied funding the Postal Service with this new second stimulus bill that is obviously an issue of contention between the Democrats and the Republicans. So he's basically holding up this funding for the post office based on this. Now, some would say that perhaps he knows that the Democrats would not approve this, and he's using this as leverage in order to keep the funding out of the Postal Service. And this is obviously very contentious given the role that mail-in voting has, especially this year with the COVID crisis.
Well, I mean, a postal service that doesn't cope with the influx of mail-in votes for November's election really does play into Trump's claims that results will take a long time and there may be fraud involved.
Right. Not only that, so it really plays into the president's talking point, which is that mail-in voting at a large scale, which is what is anticipated this time around if all goes smoothly, would definitely cause grounds for fraud. This has been a Republican talking point, and this really plays into the Democratic narrative that shows that basically argues that the Republicans are very much afraid of increased participation in any election, but especially against this president and especially this year. So, the more people participate, that higher participation usually favors the Democratic Party. So the argument being made by Democrats, which is a credible argument, is that these efforts are all very systematic and aimed at reducing participation that would help guarantee, or not guarantee, but at least help the president secure re-election.
But mail-in votes, it's not something new for some states in the U.S. But for the first time, as you said, we're going to see hundreds of thousands of people cast their ballots this way because of the pandemic and because the U.S. has the highest number of cases in the world. Now, surely those in charge really need to do all they can to ensure that this very vital service functions at its peak, especially over the next few months.
Right. What you're talking about is a very ideal situation. Now, by many measures, the Postal Service board of directors are appointed by the president. And the current Postmaster General, it is argued, has businesses with his wife that compete perhaps with the U.S. Postal Service. So, and given this, one of the Republican talking points over many years has been that the post office and the Postal Service should be privatized. So therefore, yes, what you're saying, ideally, the government should be working to secure mass participation in any election, but especially this year, given the COVID crisis, accommodations should arguably be made to allow as many people to vote as possible. With this is obviously, as I said, the Democrats are viewing this as a step towards disenfranchising many voters who are maybe unable to get to polling stations or just don't feel safe or comfortable given the current health crisis. And as such, this has become a very contentious issue between the two parties.
Yeah, very contentious issue, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the next few months.
Sure.
Farhad Alavi, live to us there from Washington, D.C. Thank you.